So, what if a single regional conflict could literally unravel the entire global economy? We're about to dive into a pretty startling chain reaction, a real domino effect that, according to our sources, could reshape the world as we know it. This quote just perfectly captures this idea of unintended consequences. And in the story we're about to unfold, that invoice, well, it isn't just about military spending. It's about a calculated economic attack, one that's designed to hit where it hurts the absolute most. So, how does something like this even begin? Well, it's not with a traditional invasion. It's with what our analysis is calling a war of asymmetry, a conflict that isn't fought with overwhelming force, but through really strategic economic pressure points. See, the strategy here isn't to go toe to toe with the US military. No way. Instead, the focus is on a much, much more vulnerable target: the economic lifelines of America's key allies in the Gulf. This makes it more than just a regional fight. It's an attack on the global economy itself. Okay, and here is the absolute core of the problem. You're using $1 million interceptor missile to take out a $50,000 drone. I mean, you don't have to be some kind of military genius to see that the math there just doesn't add up. Over time, that kind of cost imbalance is completely, totally unsustainable. And these cheap attacks are being aimed at incredibly high value critical targets. We're talking about the energy facilities that literally power the world, the desalination plants that provide 60% of the region's fresh water, and the shipping lanes that deliver 90% of its food. This isn't just about disruption. For these nations, it's an existential threat. And this is where the first domino falls, and it falls hard. This regional conflict, it doesn't stay regional for long. It sends a shockwave straight to the heart of the US economy, and it creates what the sources are calling the Fed's impossible trap. All of a sudden, the most powerful economic institution on the planet finds itself trapped between two absolute nightmares: skyrocketing inflation and a looming recession. And there is just no easy way out. This is the nightmare scenario being pointed to: stagflation. It's a ghost from the 1970s, right? A really toxic mix of rising prices and rising unemployment, both hitting at the exact same time. So, on one side of this trap, you've got a weakening economy. We saw 92,000 jobs lost last month. The recession alarms are just blaring. The standard playbook for that, it screams cut interest rates to get things moving again. But, and this is a huge but, on the other side, those spiking oil prices are pouring gasoline on the inflation fire, which is already above the Fed's target. And what's worse, the prices that businesses are paying suggest it's all about to get even hotter. This side of the trap demands higher interest rates to cool everything down. So you see the trap, right? Cut rates to try and save jobs, and you could ignite an inflation inferno. Raise rates to fight inflation, and you could plunge the economy into a deep, painful recession. There are just no good options on the table. Now, while the Fed is stuck in this impossible situation, a second and frankly much larger domino starts to teeter. And this one threatens to shake the entire global financial system to its very foundations. $3 trillion. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. That's the amount of money Gulf states are reportedly thinking about pulling out of Western markets. It's a number so huge, it's almost hard to comprehend. To put that into perspective, just try to imagine the entire economic output of France for a whole year. That is the scale of the capital. We're talking about being yanked out of the system. This isn't just money, it's the financial bedrock of the entire global economy. And look, this money isn't just parked in some vault, it is woven into the very fabric of the US economy. It's what's funding government debt, fueling the tech sector, propping up real estate markets. It's absolutely everywhere. So you have to ask, why would they even consider a move this drastic? Well, because their own economies are being completely decimated. Their oil revenues have vanished, tourism has collapsed, and their budgets are in total freefall. For them, this is about survival, and it's leading them to ask a fundamental question: is our alliance with America worth the price of our own economic ruin? This potential trillion-dollar breakup sets the stage for the final and maybe the most significant domino of all to fall: a direct challenge to the US dollar itself. When you lay it all out, you can see the whole chain reaction crystal clear. It starts with a low-cost drone in a regional war. That triggers an oil shock and stagflation in the US stand. Then, that leads allies to pull their capital, which destabilizes markets and ultimately threatens the US dollar's long reign as the world's reserve currency. One domino just knocks down the next and the next. What we could be witnessing is the acceleration of a massive global realignment, a huge shift away from the 50-year-old petrodollar system, where the world's oil is priced in dollars, and toward a new multipolar world, a world where countries don't just rely on the US for security, and where capital starts flowing into other currencies like the Chinese yuan. And that brings us right back to that first quote about the invoice. In this scenario, the bill for a regional conflict, well, it isn't just paid by the countries at war. It's delivered to the entire world, and it could potentially change the value of the money in your pocket and the very nature of global power. So the final question is, who ultimately pays that price?